back to the basics technique-wise, all that came into play.
After what happened with how Tyson Fury somehow got up, did you know Dominic Breazeale was out for the count, basically?
I thought he was gone, and to his credit, he did as good a job as humanly possibly he could have done to try to get up. But I'm glad they stopped the fight because it wasn't going to be good. You know, it was time, and I'm glad he's good. You know, and I'm glad he's safe. Thank you.
Based on him being knocked out like that and couldn't get out, and Deontay saying that he could have killed somebody in that ring. Do you think if they would have continued that fight, it would have been some serious damage to?
Well, anytime you got a guy like Deontay Wilder and you're not in a proper state of mind, you know, you're half concussed or maybe fully concussed, and he's coming at you. Especially, and that's the thing people don't understand. You know, oh, he's wild, he's this, he's that. But if you really look at it, it's only when a guy's hurt that Deontay throws unorthodox punches. And you got to understand, when you're hurt, it's like being dizzy. When you're dizzy, you can defend against punches that you've seen 1,000 times a lot better than you can defend. Like if you're thinking like this, and all of a sudden stuff's coming from here and here and here, very hard to defend, as opposed to, all right, I'm gonna stay in the pocket, I'm gonna shell up, and maybe I can pick off enough of these to clear my head. With Deontay, that ain't happening. You know, he's coming from anywhere and everywhere, and there's really no answer for it. So that's the part that the general public doesn't get. Oh, he's wild. They're not seeing the 1-2 that knocks Taverne down, you know, in the second fight. They're not seeing the punch that, you know, if Breazeale got up and Deontay went at him unorthodox, they would have forgotten what you just saw, which was technically very sound 1-2.
Jay, break down the knockout. Why was he able to land that punch?
Well, he had him hurt, and then he got a little bit, you know, anxious, trying to get. Then he settled back, and then to Dominic's credit, he really fought back. And then Deontay kind of settled back down, got back, you know, all right, we're back, we're going to do the thing, and he saw it. His mind picked up on the angle. There's a million things going on in a fight that the average viewer probably doesn't see, just in terms of spacing and timing and distance, and that's what Shelley was talking about. Like, he lined him up. Deontay was just like a half step to Deontay's right, which the angle was just it wouldn't have been, the angle wouldn't have been there. It wasn't there 3 seconds before. It wouldn't have been there 2 seconds after. It was just that. There it is, kind of thing. And
when that landed, did you know?
I knew, you know, when Breazeale came out and he got hit and he said, "You ain't got nothing," or whatever it was he said. He got hit again. He said, "You know, there ain't nothing to that." I was like, okay, this is not going to last long because that's the way punching power is. They say getting hit by George Foreman, which is kind of a slower. They say getting hit by George Foreman was like getting hit by a Mack truck at 35 miles an hour. Like you feel every inch of the pain. Getting hit by Mike Tyson, it's like getting hit by a bullet. It doesn't hurt. You're just on the ground and your body doesn't work. You know, you can't move. Deontay's more the speed power. But when he hits you like to the body and things, it's more the George Foreman power. So he has a little bit of both of it. But what he hit Breazeale with was the speed power. It's just you're just on the ground and nothing works.
We didn't get to see it tonight since it ended in the first round, but how much did Deontay prove himself fundamentally during this camp?
Oh, I thought he came to me after the last fight. He said, "I want to get back to the basics. I want to get back to the basics, get back to technique, and really go back to day one, and let's start, you know, really refining the technique." And I said, "That's what every coach wants to hear, you know." So that was a great idea. So actually, if you watch his right off the bat, his stance, his hand placement, everything right. 3 seconds into the fight, I'm like, we're good. Like we are. He is doing exactly what he said he would do. He's such a freakishly good athlete that he can get away with things, and that's, you know, he's right about that. He can do things wrong and it come out right. But what you have to wonder in doing that is, would an 8-round fight have been a 2-round fight had you done things like tonight? You know, if he was getting away with things tonight, does that fight go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or whatever? But he came in with a game plan. He came in determined to to do things technically correct. And he's always going to be Deontay now. Don't get me wrong. He's never going to lose his unique punches. He's never going to lose the awkwardness that he has. That's what makes him effective. We never wanted to take the identity away from him. We just wanted him to zero in and hone in on some of those basic fundamental things.
Is this the ideal weight that you want Deontay?
Yeah, I like him right in the mid 220s. I know he came in the last fight at 212, and then the morning of the fight, the night of the fight, 209. Probably by the time he knocked Fury down, 206, 205, right? Because he'd been sweating all night. So 225, really 223, 224, 225 sounds really good to me because I think he has more fluid. Like he's bigger, he's faster. He has so much more energy when he's taking care of his nutrition.
What do you think is the ideal return time frame?
Oh, I mean, that's the great thing about boxing. He got in and he got out, so there's no reason to say we'll see you in 2020. I mean, I think we're good for September or October. I think so. I mean, let's take a month off and everybody go do all they need to do and we get back in camp. We're ready.
Hey, Jay. Excuse me.
No, sure. Go ahead.
Another heavyweight was here, F.A. Ajagba. Deontay mentioned his competitor actually walking out of the ring. Do you see similarities between the two based on the few fights that he's had?
I haven't seen enough of F.A. I do know that Ronnie trains him, and anytime Ronnie Shields has trained somebody, you've always got to think that they're doing the right things because Ronnie's a tremendous trainer. In fact, when I took over the training duties at Sky Boxing and became the trainer, because I wasn't up until that point, I was just like the resident sparring partner and promoter. But when my brother got out of boxing and I was going to take over the training duties, the first place I went was to Houston and had never met Ronnie before. And he's like, come on, we'll have fun. Right. And the guy welcomed me into his house and we went out and watched a pay-per-view fight and met his family, went to the gym. And I'm sitting here the whole time writing notes down and stuff and the things that I liked that they did, the things I would change and all that. Came back to town, I'm the new trainer, Deontay Wilder walks in the door. So it's amazing how it all. So to answer your question, yeah, if Effie's working with Ronnie, he's the real deal. He's a good fighter, and we'll see what happens down the road. He's young. Right. He's still got a ways to go in terms of building up, but I think if he's with Ronnie and does what Ronnie says, he's got a tremendous future.
Which fight next do you honestly think is the most likely?
Man, I can answer that question better a week from now, but I just don't know. Shelly could tell me one thing tonight and then tell me something totally different Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I give my input, and then we talk to Al. It could go a million ways, so I hate to be on record to say it because I just don't know.
Hey, Jay, this wasn't a good fight to judge the barometer on Wilder's development since the Fury fight. I mean, there was some rounds where I was a little, I felt nervous about him in that fight. Has there been any changes or anything that you do differently in the gym or during training?
No, we didn't change the team or anything. We just went back to the basics. That was the main thing is we got back. We literally got back to, hand placement and the stance and the upper body movement and starting and finishing everything in your stance and finishing everything you throw and finish with a defensive movement so you're not there to get hit with a receipt. But we went back to the basics and that was great.
If he had these basics against Fury, would it have been a different fight?
I think he had basics against Fury, but I think the thing about the Fury fight is he was so light and he wanted to impress so bad. He was pressing a little bit, but you got to remember that the IQ part of what Deontay was talking about, being a smart fighter, you got to remember, he scored 2 knockdowns in the last 4 rounds of the Fury fight. That tells you that, like, biomechanically and intelligently, he was figuring things out to be able to have 2 knockdowns, and it wasn't 1 and 12, it was 9 and 12. So that tells you right there he was figuring things out.
Because of Fury using his mind and you're told to get rid of?
No. Deontay's his own guy and he knows what he's doing, and I'm not. It's more of a partnership than it is. It's not like I tell Deontay what to do, and like you're coaching a college athlete, or it's a professional thing. So it's much more a collaboration. I'll show Deontay what I see and tell him what I think and whatnot, and then he'll say, yeah, but I can change that angle this way. This would be more effective. And I said, show it to me. Show me what you're talking about. He'll show me. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. Right. And then we go back and forth like that. So it's like a collaborative effort between us. So there wasn't anything like that. But if you watch the video, I'm interested to see the replay because one of our things we want to do is move to our right, which we thought would give us a good angle. Deontay could move to the right. We could get the angle that we were looking for. And Breazeale came right out and immediately moved this way, which was apparently their game plan was to make Deontay move to Deontay's right, which was kind of, I was like, hey, this is great. Like, this is right up our alley. You know, where they're giving us just what we want.
Deontay's.
Yeah.
Your own devices. leave you to the wolves.
Yeah, leave you to the wolves. We're good.
Let me get one more, Jay. Deontay was very vocal on what he thought the punishment should have been against Miller for the failed 3 drug.
Yeah.
What do you make of this, I don't know, light slap on the wrist that he's got it?
Well, I mean, my point of view, and I don't even know what Deontay said, but I'll just tell you what I think. My point of view is it's such a dangerous sport. You know, it's not like if you cheat and take performance-enhancing drugs, swimming or running, you know, you maybe shave a couple of milliseconds off your time. You maybe cost the guy that you beat some endorsement dollars or whatever because you beat him. But in boxing, you're literally enhancing your ability to assault another guy. Can you imagine if Deontay had been on performance-enhancing drugs when he hit Spielka or tonight or whatever? So it has to be taken very, very seriously. I don't think you should be able to fail 2 tests or 3 tests or, you know, and just be able to come back in 6 months when you probably wouldn't have fought in 6 months anyway. I don't think that's right. I think you just have to. It should be. It has to be really serious for guys. If there's no punishment, people are never going to change. And we've seen that. We went through some things with the whole Povetkin situation,
Ortiz.
and then Ortiz, and Vacek, who's another guy that you probably hadn't heard of, but Deontay was supposed to fight, and so on. So it's Deontay's 40 whatever fights plus the Olympics and all the trials, and he's never tested positive for anything. So you know that ought to tell you something.
Hey Jay, every time I talk to you, you educate me a lot about history, and I know your history of collecting tapes and things like that. For the fight fans, and even myself, is there a fight that we can compare this to a time? I know you're digging deep in the archive. I know you probably maybe have tons of fights. Just curious for someone maybe to go back and reference.
A fight that would be similar to this one?
Yes.
Wow.
Or a case, a study of a fighter.
It's the 15th quickest heavyweight title fight in history.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Joe Louis, the second time he fought Max Schmeling, I'm bringing up Joe Louis because he's an Alabama guy, but the second time he fought Max Schmeling, he went out with the kind of purpose that Deontay had tonight. Now, Joe Louis had the world on his shoulders because of the whole World War II, American versus German. They actually wound up being friends all throughout their lives. But that night, and the fact that Schmeling had knocked him out, but the second fight, Joe knocked him out in less than a minute and a half. And I think he broke his rib and broke maybe his back, and went and visited him in the hospital. So I'm trying to kind of connect all the things that Deontay, all that. So I guess that'd be the closest thing I could think of, be Louis Schmeling too. That good?